Damn, y'all feel that?
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. A message to all you pseudo spitters. The sound is cool, but the trend I see is the truth is missing. I feel the flow is stupid. You claim that the music's different. I guess it's all opinion, depending on who was listening.
Salutations, everyone. This is another Rose Podcast, hashtag KTR. We are KTR. We are back in the building for episode 84, live and direct with your favorite people from the Midwest. That is Know the Rose Podcast. Yes, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining us for another show today. But before we dive into the show today, I got to check in with my brothers, and that is Big Harv and J-Bo himself. My brothers, how are y'all feeling today?
I am feeling quite exquisite, my boy. What about you, lad Harv?
I don't think y'all doing this right. I'm good. I'm good. I'm great. It's a good day.
That's good. That is great. I am glad to hear that. And before we start off on this lovely day with this new episode, episode 84 to be exact, I got to check in with the listeners, the subscribers, and the followers one time to ask us to do this one simple favor for us, and that is to follow us on all social media platforms, KTR underscore podcast, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, Notables Podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Notables Podcast, all podcast platforms. Got Google Podcasts, got Spotify, got Anchor, got Apple Podcasts, got Popping, or everything. And don't forget to get that merch at prowrestlingtees.com/KTR podcast. Let's get it, let's go, and let's get into the show. First and foremost, let's dive into this real quick. We got the energy back real nice. I try to meld the mood out and everything, get things so try a different approach. No, be a little bit easy, Baron, because sometimes when your people tune into this show, it's in the morning. I don't want to be in people's ears yelling and stuff like that first thing in the morning. You want something calm, you want something serene while you drink your tea or your coffee or your macchiato. That's what I like to drink. So yeah. But first we bring the energy back live and direct. Let's talk about something we have been neglecting for a bit on this show. We're gonna dive into that all elite wrestling real quick, just for one time, because it seems like we've been really heavy on the WWE and other wrestling topics at hand as well, but we haven't shown some love to AEW yet. And so with this, since the year just ended of 2023, we're now in 2024. We just want to do like just a overall review summary of like what we thought about AEW. Just talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and the uglier. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, we're gonna toss it to my man J-Bo himself and to let him speak about what good did he see from AEW and what because they have improved from, not proof, improved from. Take it away.
AEW, especially since they came out as their own weekly episodic show, AEW was just a home for independent wrestlers who want to continue to showcase their in-ring ability without having to be dumbed down by the entertainment value of the WWE. AEW is continuously showcasing that by bringing in independent wrestlers from across the world and try to give them a spotlight. And for that, it's an alternative to the WWE, and I will always give them that credit. However, we've seen in the last year where they've had terrific moments where they was at the Wembley Stadium. We saw Samoa Joe finally win the strap. We've seen the surgeons, Swerve Scott, and so many other very interesting pieces of AEW. But I'm pretty sure in social media and the tabloids and everything else, they'll show these pictures of AEW arenas practically being filled. And the overall excitement of AEW is really starting to dwindle because they've been around for a couple years now. And it looks like it's going in that direction because WWE has been doing a great job of bringing up strong stars and building up, anticipated matches. Going into 2024, especially with a company like AEW, there is an alternative. There's a few things they need to do. One of the things that AEW needs to do is focus on AEW being AEW and not as a competitor to the WWE. Let me give you an example. Look at TNA Wrestling as of late. Yeah, it's only recently, but they came back as TNA, and they had a terrific resurgence. They feel great. They feel fresh. They feel new. They had that feeling even in the beginning, around 2002, back when Jeff Jarrett was involved, and TNA was its own independent thing. Yeah, they brought in other WWE superstars, but they was really shining to be themselves. When did TNA start to dwindle? When did they start to lose fan interest?
When they
When they
lost the
brought
six-sided ring.
Yeah, when they let go of the six-sided ring, which was a part of their originality. No, you're right. When they brought in Hulk Hogan, when they brought in Eric Bischoff, when they brought in all these other people, and their whole purpose was no longer being an original company, but to be a competitor to the WWE. That alone brought down their stock value. And thank God for people like Scott D'Amore, who still believed in TNA after all this time, to help bring it back up. Now you see that they have positive relationships with the WWE. They're really trying to go back into what TNA stands for and not a wrestling alternative, but its own great wrestling company. That's what AEW needs to do. AEW definitely has they have the roster, they have the funding, they have the backing, they got the television deal, they have the titles, the matches, the big event. They have so much where they can be their own independent company, but they focus so much on being, oh well, WWE is on this night, so we're going to be the alternative. They have a Money in the Bank ladder match, so we're going to have our own type of ladder match. They have these back and forth with the company instead of just focusing on being the original company that they are. So for 2024, I just want AEW to focus on being AEW and not return to the WWE. Harv, what do you think?
I actually agree with your points that you made there. I think that as far as on a weekly basis, I honestly feel that AEW slightly over WWE as far as wrestling goes. The problem comes with booking. I feel like Tony Khan needs to take his foot off the pedal. He makes way too many decisions by himself. He doesn't have anybody checking him. As far as I can tell, it doesn't look like they have any actual good wrestling minds there to keep him in check. Like you said, it does seem more like they're aiming more toward a WWE parallel instead of them being the original company that they were, and that's causing a lot of the excitement and a lot of the reason people watched it, which is that it was an alternative. It's not really coming off that way anymore, and that's detrimental, of course, to what they're trying to do. If they don't correct the ship, looking at ticket sales, and they just keep signing high-profile wrestlers, you got to be hemorrhaging money, or at least getting close to it. So I don't think the company can last very long if they keep going along this same route. Shows out in Europe and all that, I'm sure that brings in a nice chunk, but that's not going to be enough to facilitate the losses they take booking these arenas, traveling around, and not selling shows. They're not consistent with who they push. They love to push the ex WWE, ex TNA, ex WCW guys way too heavily on screen. That's a lot of little things they need to fix. The women's division, I feel like WWE doesn't do really well with theirs consistently, but AEW is on another level. They might as well not even be there. I complain a lot about the tag division, women's tag division. AEW shouldn't have a women's division at all with the way that they do things. So they have a lot of changes that they need to make if they want to survive and keep going into the future with this company.
I agree to base a lot of points that both of y'all made. Like I said, it's a lot to piggyback off of with everything you said. With that being said, I'll probably say the thing that I like about AEW is the fact I think they do this a little bit more better than WWE. They provide more opportunities for independent wrestlers and than the WWE. So like that because like that they put them like on screen in action. From even though they did cancel AEW Dark, but that was a good thing they did for like the YouTube series because you had multiple indie wrestlers from their individual season states wrestle on these shows on like match cards with the people that are on the main roster AEW. They still continue to do this now. Now they just do it on like their Ring of Honor show or somewhere on Collision or something like that. So besides they bring in indie talent, but they just use them as extras, as like actors for like security or something, along those lines. But with AEW, I like the fact they actually put indie wrestlers into the ring with these main event mainstream superstars of AEW and let them compete for their little 5 minutes of fame so you can get that screen time. So I like the fact that AEW provides opportunity. Another thing about AEW that I was kind of against, but it kind of makes sense, is the multiple TV shows that they have, which is honestly needed because of their wide range of roster size that they have. Even though I'm like, okay, they got a show on Wednesday, they got a show on Friday, they got a show on Saturday, but honestly, it's needed because at first we were complaining about like how they have so many people on the roster, but they try to mesh everything up together on one show and it wasn't just rolling well. So I like the fact that they do have that collision, they do have that rampage, they do have the dynamite. So no, 3 shows is good enough. What I don't like is the 10-hour pay-per-views. But I'm trying to some that y'all haven't mentioned. I cannot stand the pay-per-views being that long. Is overwhelming. It's like it's longer than a WrestleMania. Like, and the WrestleMania is long.
Yeah, long as hell.
Yeah, like a WrestleMania that like that's over like 4 hours. Like, it should not shows should not be that long. And it's too much. Like they gotta figure out how to window down the card or something. And they even have pre-show matches, and it still goes on that long. Like
way too damn long. I give you that. I agree.
Listen, please get rid of that. Another thing, like I said, y'all already mentioned it, was with too much of competing. You can't compete with I'm sorry. That's a $1 billion organization. It's like it take time to build and develop an establishment, a mecca of a business like that. You try and compete with somebody that is on an international stage. I get you have a couple of international stuff here and there, but it ain't enough. And like if you're like the ones that's attacking them to just get that the publicity and that notoriety and that attention, those are people that are like kind of like begging for it, and not the ones like getting, because they're just like, okay. They're like they know you're there, but they're not gonna mention you on screen like that, because it's like, why? Basically, you just taking over there. No, I'm not gonna say hand-me-downs, but the people
They
that
don't say that now.
the people that they don't need anymore at the time. That's it, or they don't know what to do with them, and that's just nothing. And just like the pushes are, like I say, just very inconsistent. It's like, okay, they bring a WWE superstar that was on the show. They get their loud pop, like, oh my God, such and such is here. 3 weeks later, okay.
Where they at? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I think AEW could utilize that the WWE has been fumbling with for years is separate shows. And what I mean by separate shows, yeah, they got Dynamite, yeah, they got Rampage,
and Rampage.
But what I mean is I think they can utilize the roster separately. Because for example, if you look back and think of, oh yeah, there was this amazing tag team match with the Young Bucks and FTR. Oh yeah, what show was that on? Well, you can't really remember because both Dynamite and Rampage are very similar to each other. It just one is on different nights. And they got enough championship. They can put a tag team title.
They do have enough championships.
They got enough championships and they got enough people. They have the fattest roster that goes unused. WWE got a fat roster, and they don't use everybody all the time either. But not like AEW. They got so many people that they signed huge that you don't even hear no more. You don't see them.
How many tag team titles does AEW have?
So they can put the tag titles on one show and then the 6-man tag team titles on the other show.
But don't they have like a Ring of Honor tag team titles too as well?
Yeah. It's supposed to be separate. It's supposed to be separate.
They can have the women's title on one show and then the TBS title on the other show. They can have the TNT title on one show, and if they want to take the FTR, the FTW title seriously, they can do it on the other show. They got enough titles. The only thing they will need is like a separate world title if they want to utilize the brand separately.
Yeah, like they can have like a brand war. They really could do that if they wanted to.
They could. And like literally keep the roster separate, completely separate. Back when Raw and SmackDown used to do it effectively, keep them separate. So that way, when they have those moments where sudden such shows up on Rampage or sudden such show up on Dynamite, like it'll mean something. It'll bring more, interest into the shows that they are seriously lacking at the moment. Yeah, just not.
I agree. They
Yeah,
definitely need to do something more with their roster.
right. I
That's the
completely.
only way I can see them capitalizing on it. I don't get how he's not losing money. I mean, he probably is. They just not reporting it. But dog, you got to be losing money with all them salaries you paying that aren't getting used.
Oh, we know they're losing money because you know why? Because one of the wrestlers just left from there and came signed with WWE, and that's CM Punk. And let's talk about him real quick because that's the next topic of the day.
I agree. That is why they're losing money. CM Punk. I agree. Let's get into
it.
So,
Talk about the GOAT.
wait, what?
Let's talk about the GOAT. Continue.
What, John Cena?
No, of course not him. He ain't there.
Oh, Randy Orton, that's second.
He's still trying to get another role in Hollywood out there.
Anyway, we'll talk about CM Punk on
Go.
unfortunately, quote unquote, no, for real. I ain't on Drew McIntyre level. I care about people's health and safety. But unfortunately, CM Punk is not able to compete at WrestleMania due to an injury with his triceps? That's what it was.
Tricep.
Yeah, tricep area. Yeah. So with that, unfortunately, that happened during
J-Bo happy. J-Bo jumped up and did a heel click when he saw that.
Right. He did the toe touch that Randy Orton do. Like, yippee. Yeah. Unfortunately, CM Punk is not able to compete at WrestleMania if given the opportunity, if he did earn that chance to do so. And it will not be going against Seth Rollins for the anticipated World Heavyweight Championship match, which was premeditated to happen. On the bright side, it's not really much of a bright side because somebody got hurt in the process, but still getting paid. But on the bright side of this, I'm just glad they're not going to throw the title on him too early because I didn't want this to happen. I didn't want him to be the person to take the title off of Seth Rollins so soon at WrestleMania. So I'll just say that for the good part. The bad part is he's hurt. He's out, especially for somebody that was such an anticipated return to the WWE. And your first match on live TV, you get messed up. And this just shows like how durable your body is currently right now and causes questions and concerns for the foreseeable future. So
I mean, y'all didn't say none of that about Cody Rhodes when he got hurt, but
I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. We go back to the show. What you mean?
We do that.
Okay.
We do that.
You know what? You know what?
You're probably
right because I wanted Cody Rhodes to win the title.
Nah, you ain't say yeah.
I just don't like CM Punk like that. I'm sorry.
I get you.
I ain't gonna cap. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Don't lie about it.
Right. Go ahead. Take it away, Harv.
Say it with your chest. That's all I'm saying.
So how do you think this is gonna affect WWE in the World Heavyweight title picture in the future? Take it away.
I honestly think that they're in a good position where they have plenty of people that can take that spot. I agree with you. Again, I am in this group. I'm the Punk stan. I get that. I also am a realist, and I said that I didn't even think he was coming back to WWE and that he needs to take time off. I said that. So I'm a realist. He needs this time off. Hopefully he gets in better shape. And I felt like since it debuted that new world title, it should go to people who haven't had the opportunity. They need to start building the stars of the future. We run into this problem every few years. Roman Reigns ain't going to be there forever. He's their top guy. Seth Rollins is already dealing with an injury. They don't have very many people that are solid in that top spot that they can run to the well for. They have a lot of people that are sitting there teetering on the edge, ready to make that jump to the top that they haven't taken a swing at yet. So this is the perfect opportunity for them to actually do that. If they do, or if they don't, I don't really know yet. But I feel like they're in a great position that if they lose the top guy, they have plenty of people that can take that spot.
J-Bo, what you think?
First off, I hope a well recovery for Phillip Brooks, CM Punk. But with that being said, I honestly would add more than just the Royal Rumble to base my opinion on, and honestly, it's not going to be much since that's all I had. But I said on this show before, excuse me, that CM Punk, when he was in AEW, his matches, at least his last few matches, were not the best. And what I saw at the Royal Rumble, in my opinion, was the same, if not a little bit better. Now, because like I said, the GTS was actually better than what he normally do, but it was very simple. And now he's hurt. So CM Punk he's always going to have some type of pop, but there's going to come a point where it has to die. It has to die off. If all you're going to be is just his mouthpiece, which he is great mouthpiece, but if he gets into the ring and he has these sluggish matches, he's moving very slow, and then the few moves he does do is a 50-50 shot if it's going to work, and now he's older, so he's going to be more injury prone. These are all factors that's going to play into the role of the continued legacy of CM Punk. And as much as fans want to be behind him, and the fact that he stood out by challenging the status quo back when he was in the WWE around 2012, is catching up to him. And unless he somehow finds a way to get into the best shape of his life and start putting on star-studded matches, when he does come back, the legacy of CM Punk at this point is not something to be positively remembered, if that makes sense.
Yeah, tell that to Hulk Hogan. I'm sorry. Before we move on, every time they put Hulk Hogan on the screen for the Royal Rumble, I literally cringed. All right. I'm glad they didn't have him there live. Let that man die. Don't put him back on the screen. Let him die. All right,
figuratively speaking.
Yeah.
You got to add that in. Disclaimer, everybody. not literal. Not
let his legacy die. Let me say that.
That would be a good quick to put on a reel right there. We're like, let him die. I'm like, wait, what? But that I completely agree with everything y'all said, especially since I started off. So like I see all the viewpoints of this, the positive about CM Punk not being in WrestleMania and the positive about CM Punk not being in WrestleMania. So I get it. I posted the negative, my bad. Yeah, didn't see that coming. But with that, this is a great opportunity to utilize the Elimination Chamber, which is next month. This month actually. Find y'all potential superstars y'all want to push and put them in that match for a number one contender spot for that title.
If you could choose, who do you think would take that spot?
If a wrestler or the six in the Elimination Chamber?
Just the spot for the title. If you could choose somebody to replace CM Punk in that title match, who would you choose?
That's Drew McIntyre. I ain't gonna lie to you. It makes the most sense. It makes the most sense, and you can think about it, you can piggyback that storyline off of something else, and you could build a whole different feud with him and Damian Priest in the future. Because the thing about it, like you shoot, Drew McIntyre can finally beat Seth Rollins 1-on-1, and once that happens, have that cash in and just go from there.
Yeah, I feel like they could really take this, especially if they use Drew. They could take this until Punk came back, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Or even past that and talk about long-term storytelling. That would be great.
And they all
take the spot. He keep teasing it. This would be great.
Yeah.
This is perfect. Good. Wait, when's the Money in the Bank? Is it before or after SummerSlam?
Before SummerSlam, I believe.
Okay, so this cash in is gonna have to happen before June.
Yeah.
Before June, and WrestleMania is in April, and so it's either that or Backlash. That's the only two shows you can do it, or if you're gonna do it on regular TV.
Yeah.
So that what makes the most sense to have the World Heavyweight title right now is Drew McIntyre. Like,
absolutely,
he's the highest one on Raw right now. He's playing a perfect diabolical heel with all your social media posts man is making is insane.
Yeah, I said that in the chat earlier this week. I feel like he is really cementing his legacy. He's goating himself right now.
Right.
Yeah. This is his best heel work. It's really his best work since he came back with WWE.
Exactly.
This is what he needed. It's absolutely.
Yeah. Wait, Jay, did you say wrestler who you think could take the spot, or we all agree with Drew McIntyre?
No, Drew McIntyre is a clear one. Of course, I'm a fan of Gunther, and that's only because
that's the only other one I would think.
They already teased Gunther and Seth Rollins to some extent. So, I mean, they could also pull the trigger on that one, too. So, I mean, that goes back to our original point where we have guys that we can work on. Hell, if they just want to finally go ahead and go with the fan favorite of LA Knight, they could do that, too. Like, they got people. They could.
They got people, yeah. So we're gonna see what feud happens between this, and hopefully they can figure out something good to come out because I don't know what's gonna happen. Well, that be spared. See, speaking about feuds, there is a potential. No, forget. I ain't gonna try to sugarcoat and just dive into it with a metaphor. We're just gonna talk about it again. We've been talking about it for months in, months out on multiple episodes. Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. F it.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna talk about it. It's one of the hot topics of this season so far. We this probably like the fourth or fifth time we're talking about it, but I do not care. Love these
Yeah.
brothers, man. I say I saw when I met them in person from the jump back in 2021. I'm like, I had faith in them. I believe in them. I'm proud of them, and everything is coming to fruition right now. But I'm waiting for this storyline to happen between them, and I just can't wait to see how it's going to be developed. But with that being said, it's been multiple rumors about certain situations going on with Trick and Mello. And as I said before, as we report this, we're not picking sides. We're not saying one's better than the other. We love and respect both wrestlers individually, but we just speaking on what the streets of Twitter are talking about. That's all. That's all. We're not picking sides to an extent.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not picking sides. We're not picking sides. We're not trying to bring these brothers against each other. We love them. But with that being said, was informed or I saw saying that there may be an instance where Trick may be pushed a little bit more than Melo on the main roster due to his perception of when he made his SmackDown debut when he saved Melo against Grayson Waller and Austin Theory when he was getting jumped after the Austin Theory match. And that was one thing that we talked about before. I was like, I wondered how his reception was going to be when he first came out. See if they were going to be saying whoop that Trick. Man, I did not expect the whole SmackDown arena to be into it like that. Because like how he said when Melo first got on TV on the main roster, even when he was NXT champion, it was like a slow build to like get him recognized and everything to just like see who he was. But his pop and his status with the main roster has been growing the more he shows his face on TV, especially with Royal Rumble. He got a good reception on Royal Rumble. I'll give him that.
Did.
He did. And like I said, and I'm happy for him. Also, on the other hand, Trick showed his face for the first time. The whole arena went wild. I'm just, that's just that. So, with that being said, what y'all think?
So yeah, we're not picking sides clearly because I respect both wrestlers equally. And yeah, it's a rumor that that creative may be looking more towards Trick off of that recent pop. But I don't want this to overshadow Carmelo Hayes' accomplishments. He has done a lot, not only for his character, but for the new generation of NXT. Winning multiple titles, having terrific matches on NXT. And then, he was the first one to get a shot on the main roster. And I remember his first night, I think it was on Raw. His first night.
Yeah, it was on Raw. When he was the NXT Championship.
Yeah, it was. He didn't get that much of a reception. But, now that he's been showing up on SmackDown regularly, he's starting to get a pop. But, now you're looking at Trick Williams on the first night he came out and the crowd is heavily behind him. It's interesting. I just don't want this to overshadow what Carmelo Hayes can do on the main roster. And knowing WWE's history, typically if they bring somebody up and they bring up the next person, that one just so happens to have a bit more attention. They tend to forget about the previous one they brought up. So I don't want that to happen for Carmelo Hayes. So I'm happy for William, definitely, but I don't want this to hinder gender. I'm sorry to put that out there. Carmelo Hayes.
You are an ass.
Oh man, don't hinder gender, baby.
Why we bring up Jinder Mahal? He's not even on the topics.
Matter, don't hinder gender. What about you, Big Harv?
I agree. This is one of the areas where WWE can be really short-sighted. We were just talking about Drew and talking about, I guess we can dip into the long road to recovery, I guess is basically what he had, because they shot him to the moon pretty much immediately. and it took him a long time to recover. He was a joke act before he left and reinvented himself. So that should be like a cautionary tale. He is not as good as Carmelo. Trick isn't as good as Carmelo. Yet he has great potential, which of course we're not choosing sides. We respect and love both brothers. But one is obviously more ready for the main roster than the other.
Yeah.
WWE just tends to shoot for the stars, and it's just I don't think it's going to work well. I really hope that they that it is just a rumor and that they let that man just stay and bake a little bit longer so that he can be everything that they want him to be. But going off of a pop from a theme song, which really that had a lot to do with it, is that the theme song is catchy as hell. That's just not a good reason. That's not a good indicator of pushing somebody. They need to take a step back and look a little bit deeper before they do something like that.
Yeah.
Because think about it, you do not want to push somebody if they're not completely ready. You know, that's the thing about it. Like we're not, like I said, we're not worried about his, like I said, not worried about his charisma, not worried about his interaction with the fans or anything like that. It's just with the in-ring work. If anything, if I'm not mistaken, that's what we just agree upon.
Yeah. He's not all the way there yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And like,
he's great. I mean, we've seen him from the beginning to now. He's doing.
Oh, he's improved. He's improved a lot.
Growth is incredible. But that doesn't mean you're ready for the top.
Right.
That you just got it. You got to take more time. Look at how much time they spent. Melo been ready for a good couple years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
They got a couple people down there that's been ready for a good couple years, but they taking their time with it, which is it can be frustrating, but it's also smart.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they should have been doing with these people.
And they definitely should not push Williams to the main roster, especially if you have somebody as seasoned and experienced as Carmelo Hayes, who that spot should be there for right now. And even if they finally go through with the feud and they go against each other at TakeOver right before Mania, and Melo goes up to the main roster after that, Trick can still do a lot in NXT by himself to continue what he can. So it's shout out to Trick Williams. It's just don't let that thing fool you. Take that time, take that experience. Just work for now.
Right, and that's the thing that if they just looking at the long run, which probably works out best because this looks like this is the year that Melo is going to move up to the main roster. They should move him up, but like I say, keep Trick down in the NXT for another year. Let him develop. Let him be the face of NXT for the next year going forward, and just do it that way. That's the best way to do it because the right way, in my mind, that depends if Trick defeats. Well, we don't know because the show's gonna go out after we do this. So if Trick wins or he doesn't win against Ilya Dragunov and he has that NXT title, the best way to do it, even if Trick has a title or not, just have him and Melo 1-on-1 in a match. Have Trick come out as the winner, and at the end of the match, they squash their beef. It's all love because that should represent Melo's last match in NXT.
Yep.
Then bring him over to the main roster.
Bring him over to Death Row. That's right.
Death Row. Yeah, because that's the thing about it, because you, like I said, you don't want to rush it. You do not want to rush. And if you do bring Trick up to the main roster, put them on separate shows.
Or as a tag team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you do that, do you think that will diminish one wrestler because one wrestler popular than the other wrestler?
I don't think so. I think that, especially for the situation that we're talking about, it would build them both. I feel like this is something that could build both of them, especially if they reconciled, like you said, and then did the tag team thing for a while, and they start showing little chips again. Yeah. I feel like that's more long-term storytelling they could do. That's just my thought on it. I feel like they can make both. They can make both work.
They can even do like a small Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn effect where they can come up, they own separate things, and then for a moment, or for a little bit, they can come together for whatever they need, and then they can continue on after that. So that could work for them as well. And that's the great that they have. They have great talents individually, and they're also great together too. So that's going to help them in a lot.
Looking at a team like DIY right now.
Yeah.
Think about how much better their careers would be if they debuted as a tag team. Now you got to look at how long ago that they were actually a tag team and how much happened in between that time.
Ago.
But when they broke up, I was upset because it didn't make sense. There was no room. Tommaso Ciampa is an excellent wrestler. Johnny Wrestling is an excellent wrestler, but they're small. And it's already such a large playing field of small guys trying to be the number one guy. So it only made sense to me for them to debut as a tag team. You can break up later. That's what they do. Like you said, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. They were together for a couple months, and then they broke them up. The tag team field ain't that deep. They could have kept them together for a while. They could have helped build the tag division. But now they're both struggling. We don't know which one's going to make it to WrestleMania or if they're even going to have a spot there. So moving people together as tag teams to me is not a bad thing for the time being. It's a good way to, it's a good launching pad for both. It can be, depending on how you do it. DIY getting pops like they were in NXT now, but it took them a month and a half to get back there. See, you're not familiar with it no more. They broke them up. Tommaso was hurt for a long time. Gargano was out for a long time. So, sir, it works depending on how you do it, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's a good take on that. And also for further and future reference, please separate those unified tag team championships so we can have them separate shows so we can give more opportunity to other tag teams. And
it makes no sense now whatsoever.
Right. And move on from who's the Judgment Day. That's all I gotta say. But until then, that is all for episode 84. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for subscribing. We appreciate the love and support from y'all. But until then, we are about to sign off. But before we sign off, y'all gotta do this one simple favor for us, and that is to follow us on all social media platforms: KTR_podcast, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. None of Those Podcast, Facebook, YouTube. None of Those Podcast, all podcast platforms: Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast, Popping, everything. And don't forget to get that merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/KTR Podcast. Let's get in, let's go, and let's get off this show. This is episode 84, live and direct, Know the Roast Podcast, hashtag KTR, and we are out.
What should they do, Big Harv?
Pump them numbers, but not the kind of numbers that Vince and John Laurinaitis out there pumping. You don't want them kind of numbers. Them the bad numbers. Some bad numbers right there. Y'all have a good day.
That was wild.
Yeah.
He got balloons.
Getting them numbers. They getting them numbers.
That don't compute in my mind, I must be out of mind. Black fist high, rally up before we out of time.